All right, Survivor fans, we've all seen episode 6. It was called "Make Some Magic Happen," and
Yeah.
magic didn't really happen for Dale, did it? Unfortunately.
No, he couldn't make the magic happen. Look, we saw episode 1, him get that little idol off the well, or fake idol off the well. We sort of knew at some point this would hopefully become a storyline. We'd see a payoff, and we saw a payoff. Not a payoff where he's able to stage one a great blindside or anything with it, but he was able to keep things interesting, go out swinging, and yeah, try to sell a lemon to John.
hmm Yeah, I love that Dale never gave up. Like he fought till the very end. He could have easily just said, "Oh, you know what? My daughter just went home, and I have no friends here. I'm just gonna, throw rice on the fire." But he didn't do that. He tried really hard, and I'm gonna give it to him. Like, thank you, Dale, for making good TV. You were only on, a short amount of time, but you really made an impression this season, and that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really well played. And this is the thing it caused though. It caused John, Jacqueline, Baylor, and Missy to split their votes because they were a bit worried about the idol. So they threw 2 votes Keith's way. Now Keith might not be the sharpest tool in the shed or the smartest guy in Survivor, but I wonder whether that will pose issues for those 4 keeping Keith on side
hmm
next week. Because
Right.
he knows now very clearly he's at the bottom of that pecking order. Maybe he already knew that.
Right. I have a feeling Keith doesn't know much of anything, to be honest with you. He probably thinks votes against him is a good thing. But based on the trailer, we could be seeing a merge next week. So Keith could be coming. He could join up with his son Wes, and there are still four duos left. So if these four all get together, that's an 8 strong alliance, and they could kick off all these singles one by one. Do you think we could be in line for an 8-person huge block here?
Well, if you've been watching Blood vs. Water 1, you know that that's what the singles all did. They took advantage of a fractured couples where Artis and Vetus were targeting Sierra and Laura, and they took advantage of that and took control of the game as singles. And I guess if in mind those couples think, oh, we need the couples together in order to take out, if we need the couples together in order to take out the others, then yeah, we could see a lot of trouble for the singles.
hmm
But I'm wondering if we're going to see the couples split up next week.
Oh, you think so? If that happens, which couples will align with whom? I think uh, this alliance between Baylor, Missy, John, and Jacqueline isn't very strong. I think it got them to now, but I don't see this 4 being the final 4.
I'm wondering, I'm not sure I see them final 4, but I'm wondering if these last 2 votes have sort of brought those 2 pairs together. And I think John and Jacqueline, neither of them were ever at the top of the pecking order on their tribes anyway.
Mm.
Like, you know, we saw John be left out of the vote last time. He didn't know who he was meant to be voting for. He voted for Keith. I think he was well out of the loop on where the numbers were going against Drew. Jacqueline, her name's been thrown around. She sort of was in with Val for a bit. She's never really been that included in much. And in some ways, Baylor and Missy have given John and Jacqueline influence in the game that they haven't had before. So I wonder if they don't really have anywhere else to go now.
hmm
So I think I could see those two working together, those 2 couples.
Right. And then the other 2 couples are Josh and Reed and Wes and Keith.
Yeah.
A lot of people, let's just talk about our Gold Derby predictions now. A lot of people think Reed is going to go home next. He actually he's on number 1 in our chart for who's going to be eliminated. What do you think about that? Why are people all of a sudden think Reed isn't going to last? Now that there's a merge, I think he's going to last longer now. If the merge had maybe happened next week, and his tribe was going to, let's say his tribe lost in Wednesday's episode, I think he would have gone home. But now that there's a merge, I think he's gonna last.
I actually think Reed's going home this week myself.
Oh, so
I
you
agree with the Gold Derby users. I do. And this is because, and I could be reading the numbers wrong here, because it's a merge, things shake up a lot. Just look at last season. Who thought Cass would be the one that was going to flip? Like, we thought maybe Sarah's the swing vote. We thought, But anyway, so I think going into the merge, you got Baylor, Missy, John, and Jacqueline have been voting together the past 2 weeks. So let's say they stay together. And this week we saw Natalie put herself in a position to build a relationship with Baylor because she was connected with Missy.
Mm-hmm.
So there you've got, so if Natalie goes over with those 4, you got 5. Natalie's also been working quite close with Jeremy and Missy. So Jeremy probably comes with them, you got 6. And then I think Jeremy's been working a bit with Julie too. So like you sort of see 7 people in that block. And assuming John and Jacqueline stay with Missy and Baylor, which is an if, a big if. Then you got 7, and then all of a sudden you got Josh, Reed, Wes, Keith, and Alec on the outs. And you want to break up one of the other couples probably.
Mm-hmm.
And Reed's an immunity threat. And we haven't seen much of Reed. Like,
Right.
It seems like everything we get of Reed is from Josh's perspective. So I'm not sure if there's much of a story for Reed this season. So
Well, that's really interesting. I didn't think of how I had actually forgotten about Natalie volunteering to go to exile in order to get closer to Baylor. That's really smart. That will probably come back later. You might be right here.
yeah, but we do also know Josh and Baylor have had an interesting relationship in the show where Josh voted for Baylor first week, then he said it's because he liked Baylor that he voted for her, and but they sort of have been working together too. So it'll be interesting to see if that alliance or rivalry or whatever it is reforms when the merge happens. So maybe Baylor, Missy, Josh, and Reed will work together. Like, who knows?
Right. And there was a scene after the tribe swap where Natalie and Jeremy were trying to convince Alec to go with them, but Alec he didn't seem to have it. He didn't seem to have his mind in the game. I don't think this kid's gonna last very long. He's actually my pick to go home next.
Well, that's not a bad pick, because now that they're merging and Jeremy and Natalie and Julie can team up with Missy and Baylor, and maybe have John and Jacqueline on side too, they don't really need Alec anymore. Like, they needed Alec last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can be pretty confident that Keith's going to go over with Wes in the merge. So yeah, we're going to see. I think Keith is going to hit the merge. Keith will team up with Wes when he hit the merge. They'll probably team up with Josh and Reed, I would guess, because it seems like Wes has been working quite closely with Josh. So I think you're going to vote. Yeah.
As far as the hidden immunity idols, Keith has one, and John.
Yes,
Rocker,
that's a big.
Yeah,
thing.
And John Rocker had one too, but John Rocker went home with his. So now that means there's another one buried somewhere that somebody hasn't found yet. Is that right?
I guess so. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what beach they're going to and stuff. Will Baylor have Baylor had a clue? Will she go for a quick look for the idol before the merge? She's probably run out of time now, though.
Right. But what were you going to say about Keith with his idol?
What? Sorry?
Were you going to say something with Keith having the hidden immunity idol?
Well, that's big, and that's even if I've read all the numbers right, if Keith plays his idol correctly, which is another big if, 2 equally big ifs, whether I've read the numbers or whether Keith will play his idol correctly, then you don't even need the numbers then.
Right.
If they're all voting for Reed and Keith gives his idol to Reed, or if they're all voting for Wes, because he's a big idol threat, he's a big immunity threat, I could definitely see Keith giving his idol to Wes. Then all of a sudden, someone from the majority group goes home. We see a Baylor go home. We see a Missy go home. We see a Jeremy go home.
Right.
So this is what's so exciting about the merge. So much can happen.
I wish that the merge was a little bit further down the road, just because I like when one tribe completely decimates the other. And we're really seeing that with Kunaku. Even though they ran out of rice completely, they still won the reward and they won the immunity challenges. But let's talk about that let's make a deal moment where Jeff came to their camp. I think he mentioned in the episode this is the first time since season 2 that he had to replenish rice, but that was because of a flood. And now this is just because people ate it all.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened here. I don't even know why. Like, they won the reward anyway. Like, they got food. Like, that's a bit silly. I think he should have taken their flints, not just the extra flint. He should have taken both flints. So you have to choose between fire and food. I think would have been a good trade. It seemed like
so then they would have the rice, but they wouldn't have a means to cook it.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna, find some old man with their glasses and get him to snap them in too. Like,
right. I think Jeff should have came there and said, "I will give you new rice, but you need to vote out somebody right now." I think that would have been so great. And sometimes they do the episodes where 2 people get eliminated. So that would have been just phenomenal. That would have been worth it, I think, to give up.
Would that have needed a unanimous decision?
Probably
to go ahead. Would they have needed I think that's all right as long as everyone agrees, because otherwise you're going to have everyone but the guy they're voting out say no.
Right. And you know what, Jeff? To be fair, Jeff should have gone to the other tribe too and said, "You know what? If you guys want to give me all your comfort, I'll give you new rice too." I don't know why he didn't go to both. It seems really unfair. And in some of the interviews Dale gave, he's like, "I didn't even know this was happening on the other tribe, but I had a deal for Jeff too. Why didn't Jeff come to our tribe and try to make us a deal?"
Did they ask for Jeff to make a deal?
Right. They didn't have Reed on their tribe asking every 5 minutes, "Hey Jeff, can you trade this for this?"
I think there's coconuts out there and stuff, right? Like, what? There've been seasons when they haven't started with rice. I don't know why. I just wouldn't have entertained it really much at all, to be honest.
Right. And those monkeys, those howler monkeys, they have to be eating something. Like, there's food on this island. These people are just too lazy to go find it.
Don't they have fishing gear? Wasn't there some fishing gear? Anyway, who knows? I think, really, I think Jeff, when this came up, Jeff and the producers thought, this is something we haven't done before, dealing with contestants. It gives, Jeff something to do. I think they were trying it. I don't think we're going to see deals like this in future seasons.
Right. And I think
it's a failed experiment.
That could be a good Emmy episode for Jeff if he ever gets nominated again, because he really dominated the first 10 minutes of that episode.
Yeah. I think maybe the couple of weeks ago when he did the deal, A Redemption Island was pretty good though. Mm-hmm. Like that when he wouldn't do the deal with them. That was so they have to give up their whole reward. That was a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, Jeff's having a good season.
People
don't like the deals. He's having a very good season, as always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so strange that he actually won 4 Emmys in a row, and after that, he was never nominated again. And I don't know what's wrong. Like, is it the Susan Lucci thing? Once you finally win, they're like, "Oh, we don't care about you anymore. We're going to nominate other people."
I wonder it's partly because he was because Survivor was never getting nominated for reality series. So, it's not like it's a show that's been an Academy favorite. I wonder if he was just getting in that 5th or 6th slot for nomination, and then he won with the tape every year. And there's no question, every year he had hands down the best tape. That makes sense a lot. Either that or they just got sick of him winning and they realized, well, he's won enough. Let's stop voting for him just to get nominated, then someone else can win. I don't know. But you'd think by now people are a bit over the amount of times he's won. So I think maybe he was just 5th or 6th to get nominated, and then
that could be, yeah.
And Survivor's probably the 7th or 8th series to get nominated every year for a reality show.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of quality reality competition shows out there. I think the ones they nominate every year are really good. I think Survivor deserves a slot there. But really, there hasn't been a new reality show in a long time. It's the same shows over and over and over, with the exception of The Voice. And that's one of the. It's really one of the most boring categories now at the Emmys. And it's unfortunate because it's such a great genre. At least I love this genre. It's just that it's so boring when it comes to the Emmys. The Amazing Race is a great show and it wins 10 out of 12 years, but they need to do something to revamp this category.
Yeah, and look, I'll be honest. I know we can complain about Amazing Race winning 12 times for this category, but if I was voting each year, I think Survivor would have won 12 times. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I think the gap between, like, so I don't mind the repeat winners if it's the show I think's the best. And Amazing Race isn't bad. There's worse shows that could have won 11 or 12 Emmys for best reality series. But yeah, boy. So how are you feeling about Baylor, Marcus, to win the show?
I'm still liking Baylor. She's still my number one. Let's go ahead and talk about the overall odds circle derby. People think Baylor's in third place to win.
Okay,
second,
seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, and then there's a tie for first and second place right now. Can you guess who it is?
I would say Josh and Jeremy.
There you go. It's Josh and Jeremy.
Yeah.
That's a really strong top three. And then we have Natalie in fourth place. Natalie was always at the bottom. I think she went up this week because she had such a strong episode. I think volunteering to go to exile to kind of get in with Baylor was a really smart move.
I know last week in the Slugfest I said from what was seen on the show I could only see three people winning. I could see Baylor, Josh, or Jeremy winning. I'd say there's still the top three. But what I liked about this episode is I saw a bit more stuff from some other players that might, like a Natalie. I could now see maybe a Natalie winning the show. A Missy, I think, really came into her own, and you could start to see her. She organised that split vote, and maybe she'll like overtake Baylor as the most likely person from that duo to win. Like, so now I see about 5 people who could maybe win the show, and John and Jacqueline have an interest. Like, I'm not sure what we're meant to think of them yet. So they could also go really well.
I'm liking John more and more. Ever since he lost the Flint, I was kind of off on him, but now I'm liking him. He's stronger than I thought, and he has that emotional backstory of his father's sick, right?
Yeah.
And he was debating whether or not to go on Survivor because he would leave his father's side. But I could see John winning this thing too.
I could see him winning the thing, and like we've seen him now more making decisions. Like with Jacqueline too, and I could see her winning as well at the moment. We need to see a bit more from her, but like where they've actually been in a position, okay, what's the best way for us to go with this? And we're seeing a bit of their story strategically now, where before it seemed like he was making monkey noises and losing his flint and things. So,
monkey noise.
Yeah. So, pulling the old Jimmy Johnson.
I do have to say though, Josh, he was kind of called out by Jeremy, and I think Jeremy's right. Jeremy's like, if Val was here, we wouldn't be all lovey-dovey. We would act like we hate each other. Jeremy's 100% correct here. I don't know what Josh is doing. He's losing his mind out there. He's made a lot of mistakes, and yes, his social game is really great, but I don't. At this point, I don't think Josh could win. He's made too many mistakes.
I don't know. Like, to be honest, like if he didn't act lovey-dovey with Reed, would people think that he was like, oh man, I think you might vote Reed out, man. Like they don't even seem like they like each other that much.
Right.
Like, I don't know. And look, they're saving themselves for marriage. They need some sort of outlet.
Right. And then I guess on the other tribe, John and Jacqueline are being all lovey-dovey too. But yeah. I like what Jeremy said there. Like if Val was there, we would try to look like individuals instead of a couple. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, and actually, Baylor's done a really good job with them because I think you can tell she's sort of a bit annoyed at how coupley they are. The single girl feels like the single young girl on their tribe with Jacqueline, who's very feely. And I think she even gave a confessional last week about how that was a bit sickening. But she hasn't expressed that to them. And to them, she's always like smiling at them and go, "Oh, it's so lovely, you too." Like, so she's playing that well. Unlike a Dale when Missy was ruffling his feathers about the rice, he sort of had to say something. Or Alec, when Baylor snatched the thing off him, had to make a big thing about it. Like, that's good when people are annoying you or grading you to just smile and not let them know that they're annoying you.
Mm-hmm. I think that, a couple weeks ago we saw that whole fight between, or I guess it was a bunch of scenes where Alec was kind of bullying Baylor, maybe like a big brother would bully his little sister. I think that really got under Baylor's skin, and if she is in the Strong Alliance now, that's another reason I'm voting for Alec to be voted out next, because she could influence this vote and be like, hey guys, Alec, he's really strong. He's a strong threat. We should get him out. But really, it's like he bullied her. That's why he would want her out. That's why she would want him out.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh well, Survivor. There
Yes.
we go.
But we have rambled on way too much. I don't know if anyone's still watching this at the end here.
No, probably not. But but Marcus, you're thinking Alex going home this week. I think Reed's going home this week. We'll probably both be wrong, but we'll find out. Well, one of us might have bragging rights next week.
Right, we'll see. But thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week. It's the big merge episode. We're very excited about that.
Yeah. See ya.